Welcome back to XRP Insider, everyone. Today we've got a huge update shaking up the crypto market as Hedera, better known as HBAR, is suddenly back in the spotlight after a massive comeback rally that caught traders completely off guard. HBAR surged by more than 12% today, and what's really getting investors excited is the fact that this move is not happening quietly in the background. We are now seeing millions of dollars flowing back into the market, open interest exploding higher, whale activity surging, and traders once again paying serious attention to what could become one of the strongest recovery stories in crypto right now. The biggest question everybody is asking tonight is whether this is simply a temporary bounce or the beginning of a much larger breakout move that could completely change short-term sentiment around Hedera. Because when you combine strong technical support, rising market participation, and major fundamental news all happening at the same time, that's when things can get very interesting very quickly in the crypto market. The first thing traders are focusing on right now is the aggressive bounce from the important $0.085 support zone. That level acted like a wall for buyers, and the reaction was immediate. HBAR didn't just touch support and slowly drift upward. Instead, buyers stepped in with confidence and pushed the price sharply higher almost instantly. What makes this move more impressive is the fact that the momentum continued into a second straight day of gains, which tells us this was not just random volatility or a quick short squeeze. There appears to be real conviction returning to the market. In crypto, continuation matters because one green candle alone does not always signal strength. But when traders see follow-through buying pressure and sustained momentum, confidence begins returning fast. That's exactly what we are witnessing right now with Hedera. Investors who were previously sitting on the sidelines are now watching carefully because this type of price behavior often changes the mood of the entire market around a project in a very short amount of time. Another major reason this rally is turning heads is because HBAR has managed to stabilize above several key exponential moving average supports. For traders who rely on technical analysis, that is an extremely important detail, because EMAs often help determine whether momentum is shifting bullish or bearish in the short term. Right now, the fact that HBAR is holding above these levels suggests that buyers are regaining control after weeks of uncertainty and pressure. Markets usually move based on confidence, and technical stability often becomes the first sign that sentiment is beginning to improve. The interesting thing here is that Hedera's price action suddenly looks healthier compared to what we saw during the previous decline. Instead of constant weakness and fading momentum, we are now seeing stronger reactions from buyers every time the price dips. That creates a completely different atmosphere in the market. Traders who were previously bearish may now start reconsidering their positions, especially if the current momentum continues building over the next few trading sessions. But this story goes much deeper than technical charts, because there's also a strong fundamental catalyst behind the move. Hedera was recently named as a finalist for Best Blockchain for Mainstream Financial Services at the Future of Finance Awards 2026, and that announcement appears to have added serious fuel to the rally. In crypto, recognition matters because it attracts fresh attention from investors, institutions, and even traders who may not have been following the project before. When a blockchain receives acknowledgement tied to mainstream financial services, it strengthens the perception that the network is building real-world credibility, rather than existing only on speculation. That kind of news can dramatically shift investor sentiment, especially during a time when markets are constantly searching for projects with genuine utility and long-term relevance. So when traders saw Hedera bouncing strongly from support while also receiving positive recognition in the financial industry, it created the perfect combination for renewed excitement around HBAR. What's especially important here is the timing of everything happening together. Usually, rallies become far more powerful when technical strength aligns with positive external developments. If price jumps without any reason behind it, traders often remain cautious because they fear the move could fade quickly. But when there's both technical momentum and a fundamental story supporting the rally, the market tends to pay much closer attention. That's exactly why HBAR is suddenly appearing on more trader watch lists tonight. The current setup feels different from previous short-term spikes because there are multiple signals pointing toward rising confidence. The market is seeing stronger price action, growing participation, institutional recognition, and increasing whale accumulation, all happening simultaneously. That combination creates a very different environment compared to a random speculative pump. Investors are now trying to determine whether this momentum can continue pushing higher or whether the market will eventually slow down after today's explosive gains. One of the biggest signals catching attention right now is the surge in whale activity. According to the latest data, wallets holding more than 1 million HBAR now control approximately 55% of the total supply, and that number has been climbing alongside the recent rally. Whenever large holders begin increasing exposure during a recovery move, traders immediately start paying attention because whales often influence market direction more than retail investors. While whale activity does not guarantee future price gains, it can signal growing confidence among larger market participants who may believe stronger upside is ahead. In many past crypto rallies, increased whale accumulation has appeared before bigger moves started developing. That's why this trend is important. It shows that major holders are not aggressively exiting during the rebound. Instead, the data suggests they are remaining involved while momentum continues building. For retail traders watching the market tonight, that creates an additional layer of optimism surrounding Hedera's current recovery. At the same time, trading volume across the Hedera network has exploded higher, with reports showing activity spiking toward 280 million. That's another critical detail because price rallies supported by strong volume are generally viewed as healthier and more sustainable than moves happening on weak participation. Volume tells us how much conviction exists behind a rally. If prices rise while volume stays low, traders often question whether the move has enough strength to continue. But when both price and volume increase together, it usually signals genuine market engagement. That's what makes today's HBAR breakout particularly interesting. The market is not only seeing price appreciation, but also seeing a substantial increase in activity and attention across the network. More traders are entering positions, more investors are discussing Hedera again, and overall participation is clearly expanding. In crypto, momentum can spread rapidly once activity begins accelerating, especially when traders believe a project might be entering a stronger bullish phase. Now let's talk about the derivatives market because this is where things become even more interesting. Open interest tied to Hedera has reportedly surged to around $33 million within the last 24 hours. That number matters because open interest measures the total number of active futures and derivatives positions currently open in the market. When open interest rises together with price, it often suggests new money is entering the market, rather than existing traders simply reshuffling positions. In simple terms, more people are becoming involved in HBAR's current move. That's a very important signal because rising open interest can reflect growing conviction behind the trend. Traders are not just observing the rally from a distance. They are actively placing bets on where they believe price could head next. And historically, when both price and open interest climb together during strong momentum phases, markets can sometimes experience even larger volatility shortly afterward. What makes this open interest spike even more significant is the context surrounding it. We are not looking at a market quietly drifting upward without attention. Instead, we are witnessing aggressive participation entering at the same time Hedera receives positive recognition and strong technical confirmation. That combination can sometimes create a self-reinforcing cycle where rising prices attract more traders, which then fuels additional volatility and momentum. In crypto, psychology plays an enormous role. Once traders believe a project is regaining strength, momentum can accelerate rapidly as fear of missing out begins spreading across social media and trading communities. HBAR may now be entering one of those phases where market perception starts changing quickly. Just days ago, sentiment around the token looked cautious and uncertain. But after this rally, traders are suddenly discussing breakout potential, bullish continuation, and whether Hedera could outperform other major altcoins during the next stage of market recovery. Another important factor supporting bullish sentiment is the way buyers defended the $0.085 demand zone. Strong support levels matter because they reveal where market participants are willing to aggressively step in and purchase an asset. In HBAR's case, the reaction from that area was extremely decisive. Sellers failed to push price lower, and buyers immediately regained momentum with strong follow-through. That tells traders the market currently sees value around those levels. Support zones become psychologically important because every successful defense strengthens trader confidence. The more times buyers protect a certain range, the more attention that level receives in future trading sessions. If Hedera continues holding above that zone while building higher lows, many analysts may start viewing the recent decline as a completed correction, rather than the beginning of another major sell-off. That shift in perception alone can dramatically influence how traders position themselves moving forward. There's also a broader market angle to consider here because crypto investors are currently searching aggressively for projects showing signs of real strength. Many altcoins have struggled recently, with weak momentum and fading enthusiasm. So when traders suddenly identify a project displaying strong technical recovery alongside positive news, capital tends to rotate quickly toward those opportunities. Hedera's current setup fits that narrative very well. The combination of rising volume, whale accumulation, improving technical structure, and expanding open interest creates the kind of story traders love watching during uncertain market conditions. It gives investors a reason to believe momentum may continue rather than fade immediately. That does not mean risks disappear, because crypto always remains volatile. But it does explain why HBAR is suddenly generating so much discussion throughout the market tonight. Traders are constantly looking for signs that momentum is returning somewhere, and right now Hedera appears to be one of the projects capturing that attention. Market sentiment itself is another major piece of this puzzle. Sentiment can change extremely fast in crypto, sometimes within just a few days, and strong rallies often create emotional momentum that becomes just as powerful as technical momentum. When traders begin seeing green candles, bullish headlines, and growing community excitement, confidence spreads quickly throughout the market. Hedera is now benefiting from that psychological effect. Social media discussions are increasing, traders are revisiting previous price targets, and many investors who ignored HBAR during the decline are now suddenly paying attention again. That emotional shift matters because momentum markets thrive on participation and optimism. Once traders believe a project is regaining strength, buying pressure can expand rapidly as more participants rush back into the market. The challenge, of course, is maintaining that momentum over time. But at least for now, Hedera appears to have successfully shifted short-term sentiment back in favor of the bulls. Some analysts are also watching carefully to see whether this recovery could trigger a larger breakout structure on the charts. If HBAR continues building momentum and holds above recent support levels, traders may begin targeting higher resistance zones that previously acted as barriers during the earlier decline. Breakout traders especially focus on these kinds of setups because strong recoveries from demand zones sometimes lead to trend reversals if momentum continues expanding. The important thing here is consistency. 1 or 2 strong days are encouraging, but markets ultimately need sustained follow-through for bullish structures to fully develop. That means traders will likely be monitoring volume, open interest, and whale behavior very closely over the coming sessions. If those indicators continue trending upward while price remains stable, confidence around Hedera's recovery could strengthen even further. Right now, the market appears to be waiting for confirmation about whether today's rally represents the beginning of something much larger. Another reason this move stands out is because Hedera's rebound happened during a period where many investors remain cautious about the broader crypto market. Fear and uncertainty still exist across several sectors, which makes strong individual performances much more noticeable. When one project starts outperforming while others remain relatively quiet, traders naturally become curious about what's driving the strength. In HBAR's case, the answer appears to involve a combination of technical recovery, fundamental recognition, growing participation, and whale confidence all happening simultaneously. That creates a powerful narrative for traders searching for opportunities in a mixed market environment. Momentum often concentrates around the strongest stories, and right now Hedera is beginning to build one of the more compelling stories in the altcoin space. Whether that momentum continues tomorrow or next week remains uncertain, but there is no denying that HBAR has successfully forced the market to pay attention again. The next few trading sessions are likely going to be extremely important for determining where Hedera heads from here. If buyers can maintain control and continue defending recent support levels, traders may become increasingly confident that a stronger upward trend is developing. On the other hand, if momentum fades quickly and price struggles to hold gains, some investors could start taking profits after today's impressive move. That's why everyone is now watching the derivatives market, volume trends, and whale behavior so closely. Those indicators often provide early clues about whether a rally has enough strength to continue. For now, however, the signals remain surprisingly positive. Open interest is climbing, network activity is surging, whale accumulation remains elevated, and technical support continues holding strong. Together, Those factors are creating a very bullish short-term picture for Hedera that many traders simply cannot ignore tonight. At the end of the day, what we are witnessing right now is a dramatic shift in momentum surrounding Hedera and HBAR. Just recently, sentiment looked weak, uncertainty dominated discussions, and traders were questioning whether the token could regain strength. But after this explosive 12% rally, rising participation, major recognition at the Future of Finance Awards 2026, and a huge $33 million open interest surge, the conversation has completely changed. Traders are no longer asking whether HBAR is alive. They are now asking how far this recovery could potentially go if momentum keeps building. And in crypto, that kind of shift in perception can sometimes become the beginning of much larger market moves. So keep your eyes locked on Hedera over the coming days because this story may just be getting started. If momentum continues accelerating from here, HBAR could remain one of the most talked about altcoins in the market heading into the next major trading cycle.